U.S. Citizenship Test, July 4th questions explained. Learn English and pass with confidence.
Welcome back to Pathway to Citizenship, where we turn U.S. civics lessons into living conversations. I'm Anne, your guide to the American story. And joining me once again is my favorite student, Mark, the man with more flashcards than a library.
Guilty. My kitchen table looks like Independence Hall, papers everywhere, and I'm trying to memorize which date goes with which revolution.
That's the right kind of chaos. And speaking of revolutions, today's focus is one of the most meaningful parts of the U.S. Citizenship Test, Independence Day.
Yes, the 4th of July. That's one question I'm sure about. When do we celebrate Independence Day? July 4th.
Perfect start. But the test isn't only about knowing the date, it's about understanding why it matters. Because when an immigration officer asks that question, they're not just checking your memory, they're checking your connection to what freedom means.
So it's not just a holiday, it's a symbol.
Exactly. Imagine this. The year is 1776. 13 colonies under British rule decide they've had enough of being told what to do. Taxes without representation, soldiers in their streets. It was a boiling pot. Then, on July 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, a document that said, "We are free."
That's the document written by Thomas Jefferson, right?
Correct. Jefferson put into words the ideas that changed the world. All men are created equal. That single line became the heartbeat of the nation. Independence Day celebrates that moment of courage when ordinary people declared extraordinary freedom.
You make it sound like more than fireworks and hot dogs.
Oh, it's so much more. The fireworks are just the echo of the cannons that once fired in war. The barbecues and family gatherings, that's America's way of saying, "We made it." It's about gratitude as much as celebration.
I love that. You know, when I first came to the U.S., my neighbors invited me to their 4th of July party. I didn't know anyone, but when the fireworks started, everyone looked up together. It was the first time I felt like I belonged here.
That's beautiful, Mark, and that feeling is exactly what Independence Day represents. Unity in diversity. You don't need to be born here to feel it. When you understand why people fought for freedom, you join that story.
So, when the citizenship officer asks, "When do we celebrate Independence Day?" I can say, July 4th. But I can also feel the answer.
That's it, because knowledge plus emotion equals understanding. You're not just memorizing, you're internalizing the meaning of being American.
I like that formula. Knowledge plus emotion equals understanding.
Perfect. And let's not forget the civics context. Independence Day connects to several test questions. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. What did the Declaration of Independence do? It announced our independence from Great Britain. And when was it adopted? July 4th, 1776. See how one topic links to many answers.
So Independence Day is like the hub of the American story.
Exactly, like the heart of a wheel, everything, freedom of speech, democracy, voting, spins from that center.
Wow. I guess the 4th of July isn't just a holiday, it's history you can hear in the fireworks.
Beautifully said, Mark. You're already thinking like a citizen.
So, Anne, I know the Declaration was written a long time ago, but what exactly did it declare? Just independence?
Good question. It did more than break away. It explained why. It said that government's job is to protect people's natural rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It told the world that freedom wasn't a gift from kings, it was a birthright.
That's powerful. But was it risky for them to say that?
Hugely risky. Imagine signing a paper that basically says, "We reject the most powerful empire on earth." If the revolution failed, every signer could have been hanged for treason.
They were that brave.
Absolutely. Think of John Hancock, the guy who wrote his name in giant letters so big that the king could read it without glasses. That's confidence. He wasn't just signing a document, he was signing his destiny.
That gives a whole new meaning to put your name on something.
Exactly. And this is where your citizenship knowledge connects to your future as a citizen. Independence wasn't just for the people of 1776. It's a promise that every generation renews. Every time someone like you takes the oath of allegiance, you're part of that continuing declaration.
So in a way, becoming a citizen is like signing your own Declaration of Independence.
Beautiful metaphor. Yes, it's your personal declaration that you choose to be part of this democracy. You're not born into it. You commit to it. That's what makes naturalized citizens special. They choose freedom with intention.
I love that idea. When I raise my hand and say the oath, it's like adding my name under theirs.
Exactly. And that's why understanding Independence Day isn't just about passing the test. It's about embracing the story you're joining. You're walking in the footsteps of people who believed that one idea could change the world.
It's strange. I used to think history was just dates and names, but now it feels like a living thing.
That's the magic of civics, Mark. When you study for the citizenship test, you're not just learning about the past, you're preparing to protect those same ideals in the future.
That's actually motivating. I'll remember those words. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's such a poetic way to describe freedom.
Jefferson knew the power of words. He understood that freedom starts with an idea, and that words can move armies, inspire revolutions, and shape nations. You'll see this on the test, too. Many questions connect to how ideas became institutions. For example, what is the supreme law of the land? The Constitution. It's the result of the independence they declared.
So Independence Day is like America's birthday, and the Constitution is like its adulthood?
Perfectly said. July 4th, 1776 is when the idea of America was born. The Constitution of 1787 is when that idea grew up into a government.
That's a great way to see it. The Declaration says we want to be free, and the Constitution says here's how we'll stay free.
Exactly. You just passed my bonus civics test, and that understanding helps you in your real interview. When you answer with meaning, your English sounds natural and your confidence shines.
Speaking of English, sometimes I stumble on the phrase Declaration of Independence. It's such a mouthful.
Try this trick. Break it into rhythm. Declaration of Independence. Say it like a drum beat. Once you feel the rhythm, the pronunciation flows.
Declaration of Independence. Wow, that works. I sound like a marching band.
Perfect. Remember, language and history are music. Independence Day is America's loudest song.
And I guess citizenship is learning to sing along.
Exactly, Mark. And from what I hear, you're already hitting the right notes.
U.S. Citizenship Test. Why signing the Declaration was dangerous. Learn English easy.
Last time, we left off with those brave men in 1776 declaring independence. But have you ever thought about what that really meant for them personally, Mark?
I guess it meant freedom, but also danger. I mean, Britain wasn't just going to let them walk away.
Exactly. Signing the Declaration of Independence was one of the most dangerous acts in history. Those 56 men weren't just signing a document, they were signing a potential death sentence. They were saying, "We no longer obey the king," knowing full well that if the revolution failed, they'd be executed for treason.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that serious. They were basically risking everything for an idea.
That's right. There's a civics question that connects directly to this. What did the Declaration of Independence do? The answer: it announced our independence from Great Britain. But the deeper story is courage, the kind that builds nations. They didn't know if they would win the war, but they believed freedom was worth dying for.
That's a huge contrast to how I sometimes take freedom for granted. I've never had to risk my life to vote or speak my mind.
And that's why this story still matters. Every new citizen, like you, inherits that same courage. When you take the oath of allegiance, you're not just promising loyalty, you're accepting responsibility for keeping that freedom alive. You're continuing their work.
That's kind of humbling. It makes me think about the citizenship test differently. It's not just a test. It's an introduction to the responsibility of freedom.
Exactly. And if you look at the civics test, many questions trace that responsibility through history. For example, what did the Emancipation Proclamation do? It freed the slaves. Or what movement tried to end racial discrimination? The Civil Rights Movement. These moments are extensions of 1776. Each generation redefines independence for more people.
So independence isn't just a one-time event, it's an ongoing process.
Perfectly said, Mark. And that's why understanding Independence Day is vital to passing the test. When you explain July 4th, don't just say it's when the Declaration was adopted. Say it like you mean it. It's when a group of ordinary people took an extraordinary risk to say freedom belongs to everyone.
I like that. It sounds alive, like something I can feel, not just memorize.
That's exactly how you should approach it. Remember, officers, notice when your answers sound connected to meaning. Think of it this way. History doesn't live in textbooks. It lives in the courage of people who believed in freedom enough to sign their names.
Like John Hancock writing his name big enough for the king to see.
Exactly. That signature is a symbol of fearless conviction. When you sign your naturalization certificate, think of it as your own Hancock moment, a declaration that you too are part of this ongoing story of courage and freedom.
That's powerful. It makes me want to study harder, not just to pass, but to honor that history.
That's the spirit, Mark. You're not just studying to become a citizen. You're studying to become a storyteller of freedom.
You know, Anne, the more I learn about Independence Day, the more I realize freedom isn't simple. It's big, messy, and sometimes even contradictory.
You're absolutely right. Freedom is beautiful, but it's complicated. When the Declaration said, all men are created equal, not everyone was treated that way. That's one of America's great paradoxes. The ideals were perfect, but the reality was flawed.
Yeah, that's hard to reconcile. It's like the country was born with this great dream, but still had a lot of waking up to do.
Exactly. And that's why the story of freedom keeps evolving. Every major moment in American history is about expanding those original promises. The Civil War, the Civil Rights Movement, women's suffrage, each one was America trying to live up to its own declaration. There's even a question on the test about that. What movement tried to end racial discrimination? The answer is the Civil Rights Movement. That movement was a modern continuation of 1776.
So every time someone stands up for justice, they're kind of writing a new chapter of independence.
Beautifully put. Think about Martin Luther King Jr. When he said, I have a dream, he was echoing Jefferson's words from 1776. He was saying, let's make those words real. That's why another civics question asks, what did Martin Luther King Jr. do? He fought for civil rights. His dream was really about completing the promise of Independence Day.
That's incredible. It's like the Declaration planted a seed, and generations have been watering it ever since.
Exactly. And becoming a U.S. citizen means you're now part of that garden. You're responsible for helping it grow. Freedom isn't something we inherit and forget. It's something we practice. Every time you vote, volunteer, or speak up, you're celebrating Independence Day in action.
So freedom isn't just a holiday, it's a habit.
That's a great way to say it. The civics test actually reinforces that idea. Remember the question, what are 2 ways that Americans can participate in their democracy? The answer is vote and run for office. Those are habits of freedom, just like the colonists exercising self-government for the first time.
It's funny. I used to think the test was just about memorizing facts, but now it feels like learning how to live as a citizen.
That's the whole point. Every question on the test connects to an ideal from the Declaration. For instance, when it asks, "What is the rule of law?" the answer is everyone must follow the law. That's how freedom is protected. Liberty without law becomes chaos. Law without liberty becomes tyranny. Balance is what keeps the American system strong.
That balance is something I really admire here. In some countries, freedom is only for a few people. But here, at least, the idea is that it belongs to everyone.
Exactly. And though America hasn't always lived up to that perfectly, it keeps striving. That striving is what makes the 4th of July worth celebrating. It's not a celebration of perfection, it's a celebration of progress.
I love that. It means when I watch fireworks this year, I can think of them as a reminder that freedom is still a work in progress.
Absolutely. Each spark represents a story, someone's fight, someone's dream, someone's voice joining the chorus. When you take your oath of allegiance, your voice becomes part of that chorus too. You'll be helping America continue the song it started in 1776.
That makes me feel emotional, honestly. I never thought of citizenship as joining a song, but it's true. Every generation adds a verse.
And yours will too. That's why the 4th of July isn't just about history. It's about hope. Every new citizen renews that hope. You'll celebrate Independence Day not as an observer, but as a keeper of its meaning.
You know, Anne, I can already imagine it. Next July 4th, standing at the ceremony, watching the fireworks, and thinking, I'm part of this now.
You will be, Mark. And when that day comes, you'll understand what the founders felt in 1776. Not the fear or uncertainty, but the joy of declaring, I am free.
And I'll say it in my own way. I am free, and I choose to belong.
That's the truest spirit of Independence Day, and the most beautiful reason to become a citizen.
U.S. Citizenship Test. What independence means for new citizens. Learn English easy.
So, Mark, last time we talked about how freedom is an ongoing journey, something each generation continues. I want to dig a little deeper into what independence means for you personally. When you hear Independence Day, what comes to mind?
Honestly, before studying for the citizenship test, it just meant fireworks, cookouts, and a day off work. But now, it feels different. It feels like a symbol of choice. I came to America for opportunity, but now I see it's about responsibility, too.
That's a powerful reflection, Mark. You're not alone. For many immigrants, July 4th becomes more meaningful after studying for the test. There's actually a civics question that touches this idea. What are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? The answer is life and liberty. But those words come alive when you realize how they apply to your own life.
You're right. When I left my home country, I was chasing opportunity, but also safety, the right to make choices for myself. That's liberty, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's why the 4th of July isn't just about America's freedom from Britain. It's about the ongoing freedom to dream, to build, to belong. Every person who becomes a citizen renews that idea. You're not just celebrating America's past, you're adding your voice to its future.
That actually gives me goosebumps. It's strange. By studying history, I started discovering my own story inside it.
That's the beauty of the citizenship journey. It reminds you that independence isn't something distant, it's personal. Think of your naturalization ceremony as your own Independence Day. You'll be declaring, I choose freedom, and not just freedom for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you.
So when I say the oath of allegiance, it's like signing my name beside Jefferson, Hancock, and the rest, not on paper, but in spirit.
Exactly. That's the connection the test is trying to build. Not just knowledge of history, but understanding of identity. It's one thing to memorize that the Declaration was adopted on July 4th, 1776. It's another to feel why that still matters today.
I get it now. Independence isn't just about breaking away. It's about becoming who you're meant to be.
Perfectly said, Mark. That's both the heart of the Declaration and the heart of your citizenship journey.
You know, Anne, the more we talk, the more I realize the citizenship test is kind of like a mini Declaration of Independence itself. It's a way of saying, I'm ready to take part in this story.
That's such a great way to describe it. The test is your own declaration, your way of standing up and saying, I believe in the principles that built this country. It's not just a test of knowledge, it's a test of belonging.
That's true. I used to be afraid of it because it felt like a judgment, like someone was measuring whether I was good enough. But now it feels more like a conversation about values.
Exactly. Think of the interview as a conversation between two people who both care about what America stands for. When the officer asks, what did the Declaration of Independence do? They're not just checking if you remember. It announced our independence from Great Britain. They're listening for understanding. They want to hear that you recognize what that declaration means in your own life.
So instead of sounding robotic, I should sound reflective. Like it announced independence, and it started the idea that people have the right to govern themselves.
Perfect. That shows comprehension, not just memorization. And that's exactly what officers appreciate. They're not looking for perfect English. They're looking for authentic connection. Remember what we said before. Confidence is more powerful than perfection.
That's reassuring. And I guess every civics question connects back to independence somehow. Like, what is one promise you make when you become a U.S. citizen? To be loyal to the United States. That's my personal act of independence from my old fears, too.
Beautiful insight. You're not losing who you were. You're expanding who you are. The U.S. is built on people who came from somewhere else and added their stories. The test simply helps you understand the framework that holds all those stories together.
I like that image. Like America is a book, and the test is the table of contents.
Exactly. The Constitution, the Declaration, the Bill of Rights, they're the chapters, but your story adds a new page. That's why Independence Day still matters after all these years. It's the story that never stops being written.
That changes how I'll feel about the test. It's not just something I have to pass, it's something I get to participate in.
And that's the attitude that leads to success. When you go into that interview with pride in your understanding, your answers won't just come from memory, they'll come from meaning.
You know, I think I'll tell the officer that this test helped me understand freedom in a way I never had before.
That's wonderful, Mark, because that's exactly what the citizenship journey is meant to do. Remind you that independence isn't just history, it's happening inside you, right now. We've come a long way, Mark, from fireworks and barbecues to John Hancock's giant signature. Let's wrap up with one last idea. Once you become a citizen, what do you think your role will be in keeping Independence Day meaningful?
I think it's about passing it on, not just celebrating, but explaining what it means to others, especially my kids one day. I don't want them to see July 4th as just a party, but as a reminder of courage and choice.
That's a wonderful answer, and that's how independence survives, through storytelling. Every citizen, new or old, keeps the flame alive by sharing what freedom means. That's why one of the test questions asks, what do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? The answer, the United States. But that loyalty is really to the idea of the United States, to liberty, equality, and democracy.
You know, I never thought of loyalty as being to an idea. It's kind of poetic, like we're all loyal to the dream of freedom.
Exactly. And the dream only stays alive when people like you keep believing in it. That's why Independence Day isn't just a celebration. It's a call to action, to vote, to serve, to speak up, to care.
I see that now. Being a citizen isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a bigger one.
Absolutely. The founders lit the torch, and every new citizen carries it forward. That's why naturalization ceremonies are often held around the 4th of July. It's symbolic. America renewing itself through new voices.
That gives me chills. I can imagine standing there, hand over heart, taking the oath. It's like joining a 250-year-old conversation.
Exactly. You'll be joining the same chorus that began in 1776 and keeps echoing across generations. And each time someone new joins in, the song of freedom grows richer.
You know, Anne, I think I finally understand what it means when they say, we the people. It's not just the founders. It's everyone who chooses to belong, including me.
That's right. We the people isn't a phrase from the past. It's an invitation. You've accepted it, and that's the greatest gift of all.
Thank you, Anne, for helping me see the 4th of July as more than a holiday. It's a reminder of who we are and who we're still becoming.
And thank you, Mark, for reminding me why I love teaching this so much. Every new citizen renews the promise of America. Independence Day started with a few signatures, but it continues every time someone like you says, I'm ready to join.
I'll remember that. I'll celebrate my first Independence Day as a citizen by saying thank you to the people who made freedom possible and to those who keep building it.
That's the perfect way to honor it. So, to everyone listening, study the questions, yes, but more importantly, study the meaning behind them. Because when you understand the why behind July 4th, you don't just pass the test, you carry forward the story of freedom itself.
And that's a test worth passing for life.
Beautifully said, Mark. Congratulations in advance, future citizen, future storyteller of freedom.
Thank you, Anne, and happy Independence Day to all of us who keep the promise alive.
Happy Independence Day, Mark. May your citizenship journey remind everyone that freedom, once declared, must always be lived.